Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Janet from Memory Bound, and I'm coming to you from my craft room in Texas. This morning we had a little bit of a technical problem as we were getting ready to launch our Botanical Buzz Kit. And our initial plan was for me to be on the video with Kelly, but we had some problems with the sound, which we were not expecting. And so that was a little bit of a bummer, but that's how technology goes. Sometimes you have those kinds of hiccups. So I thought I would just jump on and just do a quick little video and a walkthrough of the cards. Since I have them here, I have everything all set up, and I thought I would just show you a little bit more detail of the cards that are included in the Botanical Buzz Card Kit. So here you can kind of see what they all look like together. I'm going to set them aside, and I want to show you about the ephemera and the paper that you will have left over. And Kelly did a very detailed walkthrough of the kit this morning, but since I've got all the materials here, I thought it might be helpful to see after you finish the cards, you are going to have a few pieces of paper left over, including one full sheet of paper. So I do think you'll be able to make quite a few additional cards with the paper. And you're also going to have all of this ephemera left over. So a whole bunch of these frames, which we talked about in the video this morning. You'll have some of these honeycombs. You'll have several beautiful pieces of ephemera, including tags and tickets and whatnot. Lots of these little hexagon shapes, which I think you could make some really cute little flowers with. And then you'll have some additional cutouts from your packaging piece. So with all of this and the leftover paper that you have, I think you can make several more cards. And I would be anxious to see, if you get the kit, how many of you work on making extra cards. And if you do make extra cards, please share them with us, because we would love to see that. So as Kelly mentioned, you will get full color copies of the cards in your kit, which show them in some detail, but I'm going to show them in person to you so you can get an even better look. But one thing I wanted to point out is this time our cutting guide actually is in color, and that is primarily because the papers in the kit are so beautiful, but none of them have names. And so I thought it would be easier just to create a little guide to each of the papers. And so you'll see paper number A I've labeled as the daisy paper, and then this is how you cut the daisy paper. Paper number B is this flower paper, and this is how you cut it. So I think with the combination of the color pictures and the cutting guide, you're going to have an easy time of it. So again, I had so much fun with these cards, and I think that you are going to as well. So with that, I'm just going to walk through each of the cards and show them to you in a little bit more detail. Starting with the first card, which is a slimline card. And if you have made my cards before, you will know that I absolutely love making slimline cards. They start out as a 5x7 card base, which I simply just cut down to 3.5 inches wide. And by doing that, this card fits perfectly into one of our craft slimline envelopes. So one day, years ago, I came up with this way of doing this, or cutting this card base to fit in this envelope, and I've stuck with it ever since. And I love making slimline cards in this way. So the first card is a slimline card, and you know I have to include at least one in every kit. It has some pattern paper at the bottom, and it has one of those honeycomb pieces to create kind of a structure behind the whole card design. And one of my goals with this kit was to use the honeycombs that are included in the ephemera in all different ways. So my first card includes using this honeycomb piece as a background and then popping in some of those punch out pieces with foam dots or just flat behind. And then this honeycomb piece fits perfectly on the front of the card and fills it up and kind of gives the card a nice little structure. So that's your first card. Setting that aside. Now our second card, I wanted to make use of the frames that are included in the kit. And as I showed you before, and Kelly showed this morning, there are tons of extra frames that you're going to have that you can use for all kinds of different things. On this card, I thought it would be really fun to use the frames like a picture frame. So you're going to put a paper background on your card base, and then you're going to use some of the tags that are included in your kit to cut a background that fits behind that frame. And I think that's just a really fun way to make the most of the frame, and it actually ends up looking like a picture you might hang on the wall. This one has some plain green paper, and again, this one makes use of a tag in the background. So this card is a thinking of you card that you might send to a friend. So again, that is card number 2. Card number 3 is a really fun one, and I'll have to see if I can show you this. This is an easel card, and it fits in an A7 envelope. So it starts out as an A7 card, as an A7 card base, but I actually trimmed it down to 6 inches wide instead of 7 inches wide. And the secret for why I did that is our paper is 6 inches wide in this kit. So I wanted to make the best use of the paper, so I just cut the card base down to 6 inches wide. So beyond that, you're going to make it just like you would make a normal easel card by scoring down the front of it at the midway point and then setting it up like a little mountain. So this is a retirement card. When I saw this potting shed, I thought, you know what? A lot of people really enjoy gardening in their retirement years, and so why don't I make this into a retirement card? And this large piece of ephemera worked perfectly on this type of a card. The great thing about an easel card is they do fold flat for mailing, and this will fit in your A7 card or envelope. So again, a retirement card for number 3. So for number 4, and Kelly again talked about this in our video this morning, this card makes use of the actual 6x8 paper that's included in the kit to use as a card base. And what I love about this paper is it's very sturdy, and when you score it, it does not crack. So it makes a really nice card base. And since both sides are so pretty, I thought it would be fun to cut away a little bit of the front so that you can see the inside. When I start working with a pack of 49 Market 6x8 paper, I always look through the papers first to figure out which ones would work great for a card base. So I look at both sides of the paper, like this one has floral on the front and this one has a solid color on the outside. And I also look at the direction of the elements to see if this is something that could work as a card base. And I think you could do a card base out of this one as well by just folding it in half, and then it would reveal the pretty flowers to the inside. Or you could do it the other way, and this could be on the front. So there are usually 1 or 2 papers in each set of 49 Market papers that will work really well for a card base. So this one is the one that I chose for this set, and so I would suggest be on the lookout as you are working on your own cards to see which ones would make good card bases, because they're really, really nice for this. So again, this one has some other hexagons used on the front, along with a tag, a ticket, and I love these little nail heads that are included. It looks like a brad, but it's actually part of the ephemera, which is pretty cool. So that was card number 4. Card number 5, I do want to show in a little bit more detail because it is actually a hexagon card. And I love making shaped cards, but you often think that, oh golly, I'm going to need a die set, a hexagon die set or a circle die set to do it. But in this case, we've got these wonderful hexagon shaped frames that work fabulous for creating a hexagon card. So this one starts out with a 5x7 card base, and what you're going to do is put your frame on the card base and just trace around it with your pencil and cut it out. And then this gets glued to the front, and you've got yourself a shaped card. So behind that frame on the front, I added a piece of pattern paper, a sentiment, and some other details. And then on the inside, I add an ephemera piece and a small inside greeting. So I think with your leftover frames, you're gonna have a ton of them, guys. You should be able to make a lot of hexagon-shaped cards. If that's something that you enjoy doing, there's plenty of materials here to work with. So that is card number 5. And so in your kit, you will have an envelope that is specially designed to fit this particular card. So if you slip it in, you'll need to slip it in sideways like this, and it will fit perfectly. So that is the square envelope that is included, and you will probably need a little bit of extra postage on this one. So again, that is card number 5. So card number 6, I think this one was a little hard to see on the pictures, and I wanted to explain this in a little bit more detail. In your packaging of the ephemera, there are several cut apart hexagons. And they're super easy to cut out because they're just simply straight sides. So I wanted to figure out how might I use these on card fronts, and I did use several of them. This is an example of what they look like, and they're easy to cut because you're just cutting straight. So I thought, well, you know, it would be fun to see if I could use them to create an interesting card front. So these are not the exact same hexagons that I used on my sample, but this is kind of the idea. I took 2 of those cut apart hexagons and adhered them to a card front. And then I simply took scissors and cut away the card front background so that you end up seeing the inside of the card when the card is closed. So I used it kind of like a pattern, actually. And on the inside it looks like this. So again, it's very easy cutting. You just use the actual hexagon as the guide to cutting that away. So that is another way that you can use those cut apart hexagons that are included in your kit. Card number 7 is actually an ornament card. And Kelly asked, how in the world did I come up with this idea? And what it actually came from was I wanted to figure out a way that I could use 2 of the frames together back to back and have something that someone could display. So I thought, well, why not create like an ornament? So I used 2 of the same size frames, put a piece of paper in between, and then I designed my sentiment so it also fit in the same size opening. So those are 2 pieces of paper glued back to back with the frames, and then sandwiched in between, I just added a piece of twine with a knot tied at the bottom. So you could hang this up. But then I thought, well, golly, it's a little small to fit in an envelope. I mean, I could just mail this as is, but I wanted to also make use of the paper. So somehow in the middle of the night, I came up with this idea of just taking a piece of the paper, just basically half of the sheet of paper, and just cutting it into a card, and then putting a band across the front that would serve as kind of a backing for this ornament. So now it slips into your envelope and fills the whole envelope, and the person who receives it can just pull it out and see what is written on the back. And then they can use this ornament to hang it up in a window or on a bookcase or on a tree or whatever. And I think it would be super fun with your leftover frames to make more of those ornaments. And you could make several in different sizes and put the paper behind. And I think you would have some absolutely beautiful ornaments. So I would encourage you, if you like this idea, just to keep going with it and to see what you can come up with, because I think they would make a really cute display on a tree or on a banner or something like that. So I look forward to seeing what you guys can do with that. And then the last card, I wanted to create a sympathy card, and I wanted to add a little bit of extra detail to the background. So I thought, well, why not use the honeycomb as a stencil. So I tried it out and I found that it worked really well. You could use any color of ink that you want with this, but basically I just took the stencil, put a little bit of my Distress ink on it, and then created that honeycomb design, which you can see here. It didn't show up really well in the picture that I took of the card, but you can see it. It is in the background here, and you can add as little or as much ink as you would like. So, and I haven't actually spoiled this honeycomb. I can certainly use this on a card, even though I've applied some ink to it. So the other thing that I did on this card is I wanted to use the actual little honeycombs as design elements. So I just felt like I needed an extra pop of color. So I simply just used my scissors to cut out a couple of those separate honeycombs and use those to layer with the other hexagon on the card front. So another way to use the hexagons that are included in the kit. So as I said, you're going to have a ton of extra ephemera, and I think you'll be able to make lots more cards. So that is my quick overview of the cards included in the kit. And we have everything linked on our website. And here's another look at all 8. I think you're going to really enjoy making these cards and sending them to your friends. So thanks again for tuning in to our kit launch today, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a crafty day, everybody.